Sounds like he's making an espresso or something.
Grinding his beans.
I'm jealous now.
I'm almost done.
He's making
You're done.
some Black Roger coffee.
I got some Defiant Munition coffee.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I did. I got some.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd send you some.
Feel like it. I don't drink coffee. But feel like it.
Yeah, we do a dark roast and a medium roast. And the dark roast is awesome. It's just coffee. I mean, it's nothing special. It's
You need to send
coffee.
Brian some.
What's that?
Send Brian some.
Yeah, man. I love coffee. I'll take
Yeah.
some. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Pete, this is Brian Steer. He's over the marketing over at Lockdown Secure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, this is Pete Pye. He's the owner of Defiant Munitions.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of Corbon Ammunition Company.
What is it?
Corbon Ammunition Company.
Yeah.
That was my family's company. My dad started that company in 1982, and then we have since sold that, and I went off on my own and started up Defiant Munitions.
Okay. Cool, man. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Corbon was a self-defense, like real self-defense oriented ammo for a long time.
Yeah,
So.
and it Defiance is the kind of the same way. We're building, getting into the hunting market more now, and some of the new cartridges. So yeah, we're adding new stuff all the time.
All right, y'all ready? Let's do it.
Yeah, man.
All right, lead heads. We are back with another episode of the Talking Lead Podcast, coming to you from the Lead Quarters. Leducating the unleducated since 2012, the Talking Lead Podcast. This is our 10th year of podcasting. We were one of the first, if not the first, firearms podcast out there available. So there's a lot of people that got in there right at the same time, but I think we might have beat everybody. But regardless, we're still here. We're still doing it. We're having great episodes for you lead heads, cranking them out weekly, sometimes more. And this is a topic this episode that I want to talk about that I haven't really gotten into yet. It's one of those where I'm afraid to get into it because anytime I start something new, it just adds up. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So we got some experts on here to talk to us about reloading today. So before we get into it, before I introduce my guest, make sure if you haven't had an opportunity, go back to our last episode, which I do believe was the AK Corner, Season 4, Episode 6. Halfway through our season of the AK Corner, we talked about home builds, building your own AK-47. We had some experts on the show. We had Brian Keeney with Occam Defense Solutions making his return. We had, for the first time, Billy Cho joining us, and Billy was one of the original founders, or I guess owners of, what's that Las Vegas AK company, Pete?
Rifle Dynamics.
Rifle Dynamics, RD, Rifle Dynamics. You know Billy Cho, don't you?
Oh, yeah, very well.
Yeah.
When I was walking in to get ready for the podcast, I just got off the phone with him.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I know him very well.
And Jim Fuller joined us for about 2 minutes, but his audio cut out on him, so we didn't get the pleasure of Jim's advice on this episode, but he's going to come back. We'll have him on a future episode. And our good buddy Drew with Century Arms was on there. Always a good time when Drew joins us. He's a hoot. So go back, check that episode out. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And then kind of keeping on the coattails of that episode, kind of DIY, do-it-yourself, I wanted to talk about reloading. And that's what we're going to be talking about this episode, is reloading. And to do that, you just heard a familiar voice, is Pete Pye with Defiant Munitions. Pete, welcome in.
Hello.
I thought Pete would
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I thought you'd be a great addition and wealth of knowledge for this, since, you are a ammo manufacturer. So, and
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
it's kind of been in your family for years. Your dad had the company. You were talking about this offline. It was Corbon.
Yep, my dad started Corbon in 1982.
Yeah, so I mean, you've been doing this since you were born.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Been a minute. So great information that we're going to get from Pete here, and then also joining us is new to the show. We got a new guy. Is Brian Steer, and Brian, welcome in.
Thank you.
And Brian is with Lockdown Secure, which that name is familiar for you regular lead heads. We had Lockdown Secure on. I guess it was last year.
Yeah.
We had Ronelle Franklin on, and she was giving us the lowdown on Lockdown Secure. And as time passed, things happened. Brian has stepped into that role now, the role that Ronelle had, and taken over. And I got to meet Brian the other day, and we were talking, and he's like, "Hey, I'm into reloading," and I was like, that would make a great show. So you said you've been doing this for about 10 or 12 years, something like that?
Yeah, about 10 years. Yep.
Yeah, so Brian's got a lot of experience with this. He's got some great tips and tricks and knowledge, and we're going to pick his brain on this. And, of course, as always, we've got the listener questions. If you guys saw my post on Instagram, which it didn't post on Facebook, I apologize. I don't know what the deal's going on with Instagram. I'm in some kind of Instagram jail right now where I've got limited something. I'm being heavily shadow banned, so I need your help, Leadhead. So whenever I make a post, share that post if you would, please, on your sites to get the message out. But I appreciate everybody who posted their questions for this episode. We're going to get to those, and if we don't answer it during the segment, then we'll do it toward the end. And we've got some great giveaways that we're going to be doing this episode too. So we reward those who participate. So you participate, you listen, and you win. That's how we do it on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Like it.
That's right. I think we give more away on this podcast than any podcast that's out there. Joe Rogan don't give you shit. What's Joe Rogan give you? He don't give you dick. He gets paid. He gets money from all that stuff. You go buy shit, and that's how he makes money.
Yep.
Not here. You're not getting any of that from me. These discounts, like at Defiant Munitions, you get 10% off. Use the code LEADHEAD. I don't get anything from that, do I, Pete?
Nope.
You ain't
not
paying.
A damn thing.
Not a damn thing.
Well, wait.
I got a nice hat.
I was gonna say I sent you a hat.
Yeah, I got a really nice hat. I get some ammo from time to time. So, but it ain't about me. It's about you. I have these strategic alliance with these companies that help you, the listeners, get these discounts. So go and support our sponsors. Defiant Munitions is one. You get some great ammo. We're going to be talking about ammo today with Pete. Mission First Tactical. Go to Mission First Tactical. Use the code LEADHEAD. You get 20% off at Mission First Tactical for all their magazines. You get the great AR magazines. You can get custom things printed on those. I'm doing a special run now. They don't make U.S. Palm mags, and you can't get U.S. Palm mags at Mission First Tactical. But I've got something special coming from Mission First and U.S. Palm, a little collaboration that we're working on.
Nice.
And it'll be a very limited run, but that's a secret.
Awesome.
That's a secret. Don't tell anybody. But you can get your AR mags. You can get your AR accessories. You can get your dump trays, the awesome dump trays that we do. We give tons of them away on the AK corner. I use them for armorers trays. These would be great probably for reloading stuff. You're reloading, putting your casings and stuff in there. If you're a reloader, these would be good little trays for that also. But you can get custom things printed on those also. You send them a logo or a graphic or something, and they can put it on there. If you want our logoed stuff, just ask them when you're checking out. They've got all of our logos. Don't necessarily have them up on their website right now, but just ask them, and you can get our logo stuff if you'd like that too. But that's how you help me out, and is go and support them and buy stuff. Like I said, I don't get anything from when you buy something. You get a discount, so it works out great. Seal One, you want to clean your firearms. Have we sent you the Seal One stuff yet, Pete? Have you gotten Seal One?
I haven't tried it yet. No.
Still okay. Just remind me, and I'll make sure we get you some. We'll send you some too, Brian.
Sure, man.
But this stuff is great for corrosion prevention, cleaning, lubricating your firearms. It is a dry lube, so you put it on, you wipe it off. Seal One and Done is their logo. You can use this on wood. You can use it on marine items. You can use it on your bicycle chain. It's multi-purpose, multi-use. It's safe, engineered, green engineered, so it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt the environment. Seal1.com. Leadhead, you get 25% off at Seal1. So go support our sponsors. Keltec, use the code Leadhead. You get 15% off at Keltec. Now, you don't get anything off their firearms, but you go to their pro shop and any of their accessories. They've got flashlights. They've got shirts, hats. They've got like accessories for some of their firearms. You can go and I think the accessories, it works on that stuff. I had some over here. I can't find it right now. I got a junky desk. Here's one of their flashlights.
That's really cool.
Got a nice, cool little trigger activation. Pretty bright stuff. But they're cool. And you can get all kinds of different colors in those. Keltec, go to keltecweapons.com, Leadhead, and you get 15% off at Keltec. Lots of other codes we've got, but I want to get started with our show. First off, I want to start with our jackwagon train. So, Gunny, bring the jackwagon train in. If we got any jackwagons to take care of, we'll do that now.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the Talking Lead Jackwagon of the Week, so brace yourself, baby.
All right, so the train has stationed. And I don't necessarily have any write-off that I can think of as far as jackwagons. Just all this, the mass shootings, this is the, elections and all that. It just seems perfect timing for all this stuff to start surfacing and the media to start covering all this. And, what they're considering mass shootings. Now they're considering gang violence mass shootings. They've lumped that into mass shootings, mass murders, which it shouldn't be. It should be separated out from that. Yeah. But it gets their stats up, gets their numbers up, gets their agenda going, and just all that right now is just kind of my jackwagon. I'm really sick of it, and I'm sick of the reasons why they're covering it and the disproportionate coverage of it. Again, the gang violence, they won't cover any of that versus, if there's a school shooting or something like that. And then they also don't cover heroes, good guys that have prevented a potential mass shooting. You never hear that. Nope. There's been several of those that have happened. Just Google it, and you'll see in the news that there have been several good guys with guns that have stopped a mass shooter, potential mass shooter. So I'm not going to get into all the politics, all that. You can go to other shows. We hear it enough in the news now. I'm saturated with it. But that's kind of my jackwaggon. You guys got any jackwagons?
No.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I try to stay away from it as much as I can.
You low key, keep the stress down. Man. I understand.
Yeah.
I definitely understand. I think I've got a couple of listener ones, but I can't find them right off. Again, if you want to nominate a jackwagon, the best way for me to see it is email it to me. Don't send it to me through social media, through the messaging or anything like that, because I don't pay attention to that very much at all. Email me, talkingled@gmail.com. Put in the topic, whether it's a jackwagon or a Leadhead Brigade hero, whatever it may be, and then we will read those on the air for you. But don't send it to me through the messaging. I think a couple of you have done that, and that's why I've not been able to find them here lately. What about heroes? You got anybody that you'd like to spotlight as doing something good in our community or our world? Anybody come to mind?
Actually, I got an email from Becky Ackley this morning. She's a pretty big female competition shooter, and she got nominated to shoot the IPSC Pistol World Championship in Thailand. So I think she's only one of two women that have ever been given that. So that's pretty cool.
That is awesome. What's her name again?
Kind of from the competition world, which is what I'm pretty focused in. That's huge. So
what's her name?
Becky Ackley.
Becky Ackley. Okay.
Ackley. Yeah, with a Y. Yeah.
Congratulations, Becky.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Are you going to that?
Nah, I wish, man. That'd be awesome. maybe I can get a company to pay for me to get. So
well,
no, but I'd love to just go and watch. But it's a world championship, so it's all the best shooters in the world that go, and she's representing Team USA there at the World Shoot. So
awesome,
it's a huge accomplishment. So.
Well, if you know her, we'd love to have her on the show. Maybe get her on the show. Talk about it after she wins that Taiwanese thing exactly.
there. Yeah,
that'd be
cool.
USA. What about you, Pete? You got any heroes?
Nothing I can think of.
Nobody come to mind right off the bat. We just came off Father's Day. It was a big Father's Day weekend. Did you guys have a good Father's Day?
Yeah, man, it's good.
Yeah,
yeah, we went shooting.
Nice.
Perfect way to celebrate Father's Day.
But yeah, me, the kids, my brother, and my dad all went shooting. So
nice.
Man, I love that.
Yeah,
very good. What about you, Brian? What'd you do to celebrate Father's Day?
I have a almost 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, so they're a little young to start shooting. But as soon as they're ready, I already got guns bought for them and everything.
Nice.
But yeah, man, we just hung out at the house, had some family time, did some barbecuing and stuff. So
that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's America right there. That's our
right.
freedoms.
Yeah.
It's thanks to our Constitution and our military men and women, and just good, cold-blooded, hot-blooded, what do you call it, red-blooded Americans that make that possible.
Yeah.
Get out there and enjoy it. So I've got one here, and I started this a couple of episodes back. I was getting these emails from a company called the Infidel CO, and they have like a combat news and hero stories that I don't know if it's weekly or what, but I thought it was a pretty good source of information. So this one is R. Dunlap led his company through a hail of artillery, mortar, rifle, and machine gun fire. Robert Hugo Dunlap was born in Abington, Illinois on October 19, 1920. He graduated from Monmouth College in May 1942 with a degree in economics and business. He enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve on March 5, 1942. While still a student at Monmouth, he was called, and I may be saying it's Monmouth. I don't know. Sounds like an Ivy League one to me, but he was called to active duty in May 1942 and transferred to the officer cadets class at Quantico, Virginia. He underwent parachute training and was assigned to the 3rd Parachute Battalion. On February 22nd, my birthday's the 24th, 1945, while leading his squad through heavy small arms artillery fire and an assault on a strongly defended enemy position, Sergeant Allen and his men became isolated in front of his platoon, which received heavy casualties, including the platoon leader. Advancing to first lieutenant in April 1943, he took part in the invasions of Vella La Vella and Bougainville in the Solomon Islands. He returned to the United States in March 1944 to join the 5th Marine Division. On October 2nd, 1944, he was promoted to captain and became commanding officer, Company C, 1st Battalion, 26 Marines. The day after the Iwo Jima landing, Dunlap led his company through a hail of artillery, mortar, rifle, and machine gun fire uphill toward a series of steep cliffs and enemy-held caves. When finally the volume of enemy fire became too intense to advance, Captain Dunlap held up his company, crawled along approximately 200 yards forward of his front line while his men watched in fear and admiration. From the position at the base of the cliff, about 50 yards from the Japanese lines, Dunlap spotted the enemy gun positions and returned to his own lines to relay the vital information. He worked without rest for 2 days and 2 nights under constant enemy fire, skillfully directing attacks against the almost impregnable enemy positions. On February 26, Dunlap was shot in the left hip and evacuated from Iwo Jima. The Medal of Honor was awarded by President Harry S. Truman to Captain Dunlap in ceremonies at the White House. He retired with the rank of Major on December 1st, 1946. Major Dunlap passed away on March 24th, 2000, and was laid to rest in Warren County Memorial Park in Monmouth, Illinois. So there you go. There's the Leadhead Brigade Hero of the Week. Robert Hugo Dunlap.
Very cool story.
I got a picture of him right here. Let me share my screen. For our video viewers, so if you're listening via the podcast, we also post this on YouTube with a video version. I try to get it up as close to the release date of the podcast, but the audio comes out first and then the video. There is it Major Dunlap? Captain.
Captain, yeah.
Yeah, Captain. Highest rank major. There he is. Good looking young man right there.
Yep, looks like a badass to me.
That's part of the greatest generation ever there.
Yep.
A generation probably never to be seen again, unfortunately. All right. So unless you guys have any more heroes, we'll wrap that up. And let's talk reloading.
All right.
Hey, Leadheads, Dwight Settle with Seal One. Just here to talk to you and tell you a little bit about our product. Seal One CLP Plus is a bio-based, non-toxic product. It comes in a paste, liquid, aerosol, and pre-saturated bore-specific patches called sealskins. They all do the same thing, just different methods of application. The best way to use our product is to start with a clean firearm. There's two reasons why I say that. First, you start with the Seal One CLP Plus by field stripping your firearm and covering the entire firearm inside and out, bore, barrel, everything with the Seal One CLP Plus. You'll see how easy it spreads around. You'll want to wait about 15 to 20 minutes. Then you come back and you want to wipe it all off. So you see how easy it is to put on and remove. And the second reason we say to use a clean firearm is you'll find that it's not clean. We're going to pull out more carbon that's been left behind with whatever product you've been using before. Okay, it takes about 3 cleanings, so I like to say a clean shoot, clean shoot, clean shoot, just normal usage before the Seal One CLP Plus has removed whatever product that you were using before and has seasoned the firearm. It's kind of like breaking in a cast iron skillet. And after that first cleaning, you will notice a difference. And with each successive cleaning, you will find that it gets easier and easier to clean. Seal One CLP Plus is a dry lubricant and is designed to work as such. You will find that malfunctions are virtually eliminated when used properly because the majority of all malfunctions are caused to carbon buildup. And with the Seal One CLP Plus, the carbon does not build up. Seal One CLP Plus is safe on all metals, plastics, composites, polymers, rubber, wood, and leather. Seal One CLP Plus is a one-and-done formulation. No other products are required or needed to clean and lubricate and protect your firearm. That's why we say Seal One and done. Seal One is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code LEADHEAD for a 25% off discount.
Let's get into some reloading talk here. So, again, the reason I want to do this is I have interest. I usually do shows when I have interest in something, and you leadheads get to join in my journey of knowledge. And I'm not into reloading yet, and it's just it's one of those things where the pros and cons, and you know, is it something I want to get involved with because there's a lot of equipment involved, and you know, there's time, and is it more cost effective for me to just buy the ammo? So I guess these are things that maybe we need to start off answering these kind of questions first. Is why would I get into reloading? What purpose is it going to solve, or dilemma is it going to solve in my life or maybe someone else's life? So what are the reasons why somebody might get into reloading?
For me, I bought my first pistol in 2011, and I was 25 at the time, something like that. And I had guns before that, but that was the first pistol I ever bought. And then 6 months later, I decided to get into competition shooting. And so about a month after that, I think, is when I started reloading. So it was kind of a necessity for me. So I was shooting, this was before I had kids. So, you know, I was shooting about 10 to 15,000 rounds a month.
Wow, that's a lot.
And so in order to do that, 10 to 15,000 rounds a year. 1,000 rounds a month.
Sorry. Okay.
I was going to say.
Yeah, right.
I'm sitting there putting
it's like, yeah.
I wasn't going to question you.
Yeah, right. And so, in order to do that, I had to start reloading. So, it was a big cost factor. That was a big reason. Another reason was factory ammo is normally loaded pretty hot. For a competition shooter, we want the lowest recoil possible. So, you can basically set up your load to work with your gun and to, make sure it functions really well and it's accurate. But you're not using any more powder than you have to, right? So it gives you as little recoil as possible for your setup. So that was a big reason for me to do it too.
And was this pistol ammo that you're reloading at this point?
Yeah, it was just 9mm.
9mm.
Yeah. So mostly a pistol reloader. And I shoot 3-gun too a little bit, but not as much anymore with the kids. But most of what I do is pistol reloading. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for you, it was more the maybe a cost factor, and because you were shooting so much, and initially it may be cheaper, but then in the long run, it's going to be cheaper for you to reuse that brass. And
right, yeah. So at the time, I think I was reloading for like 8 or 9 cents a round, and factory ammo was about 30 cents a round, so it was a pretty good savings. I paid off all the equipment within that first year just because I was shooting so much.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, from then on, I've been using the same press for 10 years, So from then on, it was just kind of money saved. And a lot of people will say that you don't really save money reloading. And my comeback to that is usually it's a choice, like it is cheaper, but most people just tend to spend that money on more gun stuff.
It's cheaper in the long run. Like you said, you've been doing it for 10 years, but initially it's not. You're going to get hit with all that equipment cost up front first, but then over time, it's going to eventually end up being cheaper. Now, another reason why I think people would do it would be just what we're experiencing right now with supply and demand, and taxes and uncertainty of the gun laws and restrictions and banning ammo, importation, exportation, now that kind of stuff that's going on. It's just uncertainty on the supply that we're going to have, that you can just run to your local gun store and get the ammo. I mean, and I know I've talked to reloaders too, and they've had a lot, and Brian or Pete, you're one too. Getting components right now is just, really hard to do.
Yeah. It's very hard. We're actually, I haven't announced it yet. But I'm getting ready to start a new division in Defiant Munitions, called Defiant Munitions Skunk Works, where we're going to offer, some more stuff like that. So if, customers that are sitting on bunches of brass or primers or bullets or stuff, we will, be able to do it in Skunk Works.
Okay. So they can send you those components and maybe help cut their cost kind of deal?
Yeah.
And you'll load it for
them. Say they have several thousand primers and they want some 223 loaded up. They can send me those primers and I'll supply the rest of the components. Or if they have, a bunch of 223 brass that they want loaded up, we'll do it in Skunk Works. So
that's cool, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And actually the weird thing is I was doing it anyways. So there's people calling me just saying, hey, listen, we bought all these components to reload and we just don't have time to do it. Can you do it if we send it to you? And, obviously depending on what it is, I do it. So now we finally have something up on the website. You can go to DM-SKUNKWORKS and fill out a form that gets submitted to me. I review and stuff like that. But yeah, and I mean, to go further on your what you were saying, being able to, to reload like that is, to customize your loads, like what Brian was saying, be able to dial your loads in for exactly, the felt recoil, the velocity, the performance that you're wanting. So that's a big thing. You can really, really get down on it.
Well, that's it. For serious shooters, that would be another reason is you dial into your, there's barrel harmonics, with rifles. So different loads and everything, every barrel, they've got a little different harmonics to them, and finding that in your rifle is going to get you, even more precision. So that would be a reason why some people would reload. Like, Brian was saying that, the different mixture in the powders and the recoil and,
exactly
that type stuff. So different hunting, different competition. So you can get it exactly tuned for you, tuned for your firearm that way. So maybe not necessarily a cheaper way. It's not always about money for people,
right?
And that maybe it's a factor for you, maybe it's not, but it's another reason why people would potentially do that. Get into it. Just like the AK parts, building your own AK parts kits have gone extremely way up, and then all the tools and everything that you have to do that. If you're just building one parts kit, it's probably not worth it for you to buy all that. But again, what's worth it to you? Is it the fun? Is it the enjoyment? Is it the satisfaction of, hey, I did this myself kind of thing? For some people it is. Some people it is about the money. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, being able to, go out to your reloading bench or, your room and to get away from everything and just kind of decompress and do some, some loading is definitely a thing. So
yeah, it's got a therapeutic kind of attribute to it, I guess.
Yeah. I usually listen to music pretty much anytime I'm doing anything, but when I'm reloading, it's just like I don't have anything in the background. I don't have any music. I don't have anything going on. It's just me kind of focusing on the machine, and like what Pete said, it's definitely therapeutic. Just kind of sit there and make your own ammo. It's especially if you got kids and everything's real hectic and you're always running around and doing stuff, to just like kind of sit in one space and not look at your phone or have any other outside stuff going on. Like when I shut the vault door in my reloading room, like I'm in there and that's what I'm doing. So
it's me time, my time, it's your own personal private time. Yeah. And there's that aspect of it too, but more to what I was getting along, is self-reliance. Again, being self-reliant, kind of like, the prepper mentality, I guess, is when, the shit does hit the fan and, there's no more supply of ammo, you have the ability to make your own and, be self-reliant. So, there's that aspect of it is what, why some people probably would get into it as well. But there's some of those crazy rounds too that it's hard to find ammo for. Some of those crazy loads. Pete, you could probably name several right off the bat, but people like to get that ammo, they're going to have to reload it themselves, and that could be another reason why somebody gets into reloading.
Yeah, a lot of the historic guns, you just can't find ammo that's in those calibers, or a lot of times the ammo that is made nowadays is made for much higher pressure than what an older gun can handle. Mm-hmm. And so, there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, some of those big game hunting rifles. That kind of stuff. So
I just got back from a prairie dog hunting trip in Wyoming.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that. How'd that go?
So we have access to over 500,000 acres out there on a ranch, Key Creek Ranch.
Wow.
And we do it every year. We've been doing it for, 15 years or something. But, I load a very specific load specifically for that trip. It's a 50 grain VMAX. It's a polymer tip bullet and, pushing over 3,000 feet per second out of a 223 that I built specifically for prairie dogs. So it's literally a load that I load for one trip of the year that I take. You know what I mean? So, and then obviously I've got competitive ammo that I shoot and just range blaster ammo that I shoot. So, it's not always, like you said, about the money. Sometimes you have specific jobs for each thing that you're reloading.
So tell me about the prairie dog hunt. I want to hear about this.
I've
always wanted to go. I've never been on a prairie dog hunt.
Yeah, we're out there for a week. It's in Wyoming, and basically we drive all the way out there because we want to have 4-wheel drive trucks and stuff while we're out on the prairie. And last year we had 26 people. We took the whole engineering department basically.
Oh, nice.
And it was awesome, but it was a little bit too much. Just, there are 13 trucks all driving down the highway together, and it just got crazy.
No, that's awesome. So, I mean, people see that coming down the road. They get out of your way.
Yeah. So this year we toned it way down, and I think we had 8 of us, and people that really wanted to go on the trip. And it was me and one other guy, and then who had been on the trip a bunch of times, and then everybody else was new. So we just kind of go on the trip, and then for 3 days we shoot, and then we drive.
So how do you
home.
hunt prairie dog? Like I said, I've never been on a prairie dog hunt, so walk me through this.
So calling it hunting, I always say, is kind of a it's not really hunting. Like, you got to drive around and you got to look for the mounds, but I like to call it target shooting with moving and reactive targets.
Whack-a-mole with a gun?
Yeah, whack-a-mole. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So that's why I use that specific load. It just does some crazy things to prairie dogs. If they weren't such disgusting creatures that, carry the plague and monkeypox and, destroy the land and break horses' legs and stuff, I might feel a little bit bad about, killing 500 of them while I'm out there. But
so how many did y'all get?
So we bring 1,000 rounds of ammo for 3 days. And so usually my kill percentage is anywhere from 30 to 50%.
1,000 rounds each?
Yeah, 1,000 rounds for each person. Yeah. So
how big's a prairie dog?
Is to reload your own ammo. So we had 4 people on the trip that had never reloaded before, and so taught them how to reload. And luckily Frankfurt Arsenal is one of our brands, and so we all got to load on the new X10 and got a bunch of testing in on that, and then taught a bunch of people. And so I'm a NRA certified reloading instructor, and some other instructor licenses and stuff that I had too. But so we were able to kind of teach everybody how to do it, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's important to know for this show, for our listeners to know. You're NRA certified. I didn't know NRA certified people to reload.
I've got my certificate around here somewhere. I don't know. But
that's cool.
So basically you just drive around, use binos, try to find them, and then we'll shoot them anywhere from 5 yards. I think the longest confirmed kill that I had this year is like 450 yards. So a little 3-inch, tall little 3-inch target at 450 yards with a 20-mile-an-hour wind.
Well, how big's a typical groundhog?
I'd say they're like 18 inches by like 3 or 4 inches wide. Some of them can get pretty big, but that's kind of typical.
Pound and a half.
Are they just popping in and out of these holes, or are they running around?
Both, yeah. So, they'll kind of sit there on their mound, and so you'll maybe get half of them, or they'll pop up, or they'll just kind of sit there. And what's funny is, if they're sitting up like this, in their head and the little mounds down here, you would think that, you kind of like shoot them in the chest or whatever. But the most fun, I swear, they have like this little piece of tannerite that's down in their stomach. And if you shoot them in the perfect spot, they'll do backflips and stuff flying up in the air, and it's a lot of fun. It's also a really cool way to become a better shooter. Like I said, I was mostly a pistol shooter, and so my first year out there, like being able to read the mirage through the scope and try to figure out which way the wind is blowing based on the mirage, and then we only have 250 yards at our range, and so you don't have to worry about elevation or wind or anything. But out there, you might have a 20-mile-per-hour wind going this way and a 10-mile-an-hour wind going this way, and it gets all crazy.
Temperature and all that comes into play, definitely.
Yeah. So it makes you become a much better shooter.
Now, does anybody use a 22?
Not really. No, the 22 is just not very much fun. So a lot of people use like 204. Which is a really good round. You really want the velocity. So 22, 250, 204, 223. Some of those you can get up into the 3,000 feet per second range is usually what people use.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
But
I'll have to go on one of those sometime.
If you haven't done it, you need to do it. It's a blast. So
Pete, you and Brian Keeney need to go.
Let's do it. I could probably find somewhere here in South Dakota to do it. We at Defiant Munitions, we actually offer a similar bullet to what Brian was describing. It's a 55 grain Blitz King polymer tip, 3150 feet per second. It's screaming.
Yeah.
It's the perfect Prairie Dog load. But 204 Ruger, which we don't offer right now, but that's a very popular one. And like Brian, I mean, there are people that use 17 HMR and with the rim fires, but typically there's wind issues out there, like Brian was saying, and they don't, the rim fires don't fare very well with the wind. But
yeah, they get pushed around a lot.
Yep. So,
gotcha. Now, do they spook easy? Because you said you're shooting some from 5 feet away up to.
Dumb, man. They have to be the dumbest creatures in existence.
I was gonna say, if you're getting 5 feet away from them,
and they're cannibalistic too. So there'll be two right next to each other. You'll shoot one, it'll like blow all the guts over onto this one. He's like just sitting there eating the guts off of his chest, and he looks over and his buddy's split in two, but he doesn't think to like run away. He's just like, oh,
like buffet.
What happened to Jim over there? They're just
who opened the buffet?
Dumb, so
yeah, they are.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen them eating each other before too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so we'll shoot 200 of them in one spot, and you'll go back to that same spot the next day, and they're all gone.
Cleaned up.
The eagles will come down and get them, and they'll pull each other back into the hole, but it's just like a fresh start every morning. It's really weird.
Wow.
Yeah. Coyotes come in.
Coyotes, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I want to do that sometime.
It's a fun time, man. You got to do it for sure.
Hell yeah.
So we kind of talked reasons. So you decided you want to do this now. So I want to do this now. What do I need? What do I need to get started into reloading? I know there's going to be a bunch of tools, and I got to get all these materials. I got to stock up on primers and casings and bullets and powder.
Yeah.
You got to have powder.
Yeah. What I usually recommend for people, for brass is like they're already out there shooting, So instead of leaving your brass on the ground, just start picking it up, and just whatever caliber you're shooting, instead of leaving it out there or letting some old guy, who sneaks up behind you steal all your brass, instead of letting him do it, just start collecting your brass. And that's kind of what I did. And before I got started, I already had, plenty of brass to get started with it. Definitely don't go out there and buy brass unless you need, like Lapua brass for, some crazy caliber or something. But, I try to avoid buying brass as much as possible. It's a lot more fun to shoot it and reuse it. So.
Yeah. Exactly what he said. I mean, like when we go to the range, we use an outdoor range here that's local to us. And it was funny because before all this pandemic stuff started, you could go there any given day and there's tons of brass. Everybody, now it's spotless. You can't find a single piece of brass because there's so many more people reloading and picking it up.
Yeah. Same here. We've got a really nice outdoor facility that a lot of the law enforcement agencies use. And so if I see that, the SWAT team is out there training, or I see the FBI out there, or the sheriff's department, or our local police department, anytime those guys are out there, they leave brass all over the place. And so, I'll keep an eye out. We have a calendar of events out at the range, and I'll go on there and I'll keep an eye on the calendar. It's like, oh, okay, I see the FBI shooting. I know they shoot 9mm. The SWAT team's going to be out there. They're shooting, their sniper team's shooting 308. And so, that's how I get a lot of my brass, is that way. So
I know some ranges don't want you to do that because they police their own brass and resell it themselves.
Right. Yeah. Our range, it's a private club. And so we pay to have our membership there, but they actually like it because it keeps the range clean, kind of like what Pete was saying.
Yeah.
And so, it's really going to depend on where you shoot. If, you're at an indoor range or something, a lot of those guys will pick it up and resell it, at their shop. And so, you just kind of got to ask. So,
yeah.
So,
I guess maybe another question would be pistol and rifle. Is it two different procedures when you're reloading?
It's the same general concept is the same, but rifle is just more complicated. So there's less steps to reload pistol. So,
but you
it's
do
the
both.
Same general concept.
You do both nowadays, right? You do pistol and rifle. Okay.
Yeah. I mostly reload pistol, but yeah, like I said, I just loaded 1,000 rounds for the Prairie Dog trip. So.
Gotcha. So the components, the casing. We kind of talked about the casings where you police your own brass, where you can get that, but you can also buy it. There's places where you can buy it. You can buy new, or you can buy reman.
Yeah, there's a lot of like once-fired brass out there that those indoor ranges and stuff are shooting and then reselling. So, yeah, for me, I'm lucky to have a range, 15 minutes from my house, so I just go pick up brass anytime I'm running low. But for people that can't do that, or they have to drive a long way to get to it, buying once-fired brass is not a problem at all, especially for a pistol. But even for most rifle calibers, it's not a big deal.
But then you got to get bullets, you got to get powder, you got to get primers. What are your suggestions on those components?
So primers is the only one that's really tough, because you can use pretty much any bullet you can find. You know what I mean? There's 100 different weights and tons of different powders and all that, and you can pretty much make anything work. If you can find the right recipe. But primers, you're kind of out of luck. Like you can't make your own. You can't use a bunch of different ones. So really, there's just like Winchester, CCI, and then Remington. Are the main ones.
And is a primer are there different types of primers? Is just one primer does all bullets?
So the primer is just that, and so I have one is kind of knocked out. So you're basically just popping out the old one and putting a new one in. And so there are different sizes. There's small pistol, small rifle, large rifle. So there's small and large of both pistol and rifle, basically.
Okay.
So and then
that's all you got to worry about when it comes to primers is small, large, pistol or rifle.
Yeah, pretty much. You can get into the weeds on it if you want.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say how I actually know quite a bit about primers. And it's like how deep do you want to go 3? Want to go 3 hours on it, or?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go 3 hours, but I just for like me. When I'm getting into something and somebody goes, oh, we'll go get some primers. And then I go look for primers, and then there's 5 billion different kinds. Like, well, which fucking primer do I need for my 223? Which primer do I need for my 308? Which do I need a different, is this primer better than this primer?
Yeah. So like Brian was saying, there's Federal and all those. Well, then you got like CCI and Federal that actually make their match primers, like their bench rest primers or the Federal gold medal match primers. And it's kind of funny because the only difference between and I can speak for the ones at Federal, the difference between like a Federal regular factory primer and a Federal gold medal match primer is literally the technician that's making them that day. So the gold medal match primers are made by just a seasoned vet there that knows what they're doing. But there's also like CCI primers, the cup, which is the actual main body of the primer. That's called the primer cup. So each manufacturer's hardness on those are slightly different. Like Federal's noted to have the softest cups on their primer. So you can get like a lot of people that run like real heavy into, pistol competition. They have their actions on their guns, lighting and stuff. So it's easier for them to get light strikes. So if you're running a heavy primer cup, like a CCI or something like that, the Federals tend to be softer, so they'll detonate more consistently and stuff.
Yep.
So have you experimented with that, Brian?
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of so I shoot a 2011. It's a custom double stack 1911 for competition, and it's hammer fired, so it's got a little bit more weight behind it. I know a lot of the striker fire guys, they put as light of a striker spring in there as they can, and they can get some light strikes and stuff. And so, like you said, Federal's definitely I think a lot of the revolver guys actually, because they use, a lot of those guys will shave the hammer off, And so it's basically just a thin piece of metal that's striking the firing pin. And so they use those real soft ones too. But yeah, so it's kind of a good thing to point out though, is like, if you want to just like make a real simple load, you can do that. If you want to get like way deep down into the rabbit hole, you can do that too. So, it just kind of depends on what you want to get out of it,
Yeah. So the primer has parts. A primer is constructed of a brass cup filled with a combustible compound called lead. Was it styphnate?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that? Lead styphnate? Explodes on impact. Lead styphnate starts as a liquid in the manufacturing process. The compound is poured into the brass cup, and then a triangular piece of metal, also referred to as the anvil, is set in.
Correct.
This happens while the compound is still in a liquid state. Primers are made in 4 different types and 2 different sizes, which Brian was saying. The sizes are small and large. These are rifle and pistol primers. For an example, sizes 223 Remington uses a small primer, and a 308 Winchester uses a large primer. Okay.
Right. Well, you also have Magnum primers in the midst of all that as well, too.
Oh, okay.
You have standard and Magnum.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a third category of primer?
Yes, in both large and small.
Okay. So although pistol primers and rifle primers share common diameters, they are not the same. What makes the primers different is the components they are created from. Rifle primers regularly obtain a hotter flash and a tougher cup. Be sure to use the correct primers along with the correct ammunition for a rifle and pistol. Never switch them up.
Yep.
Okay. That's important. That's important information right there.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, primers is a big deal. I mean, primer selection's huge. Here's like the biggest thing with all this pandemic and stuff that we've seen with production ammo at Defiant is that, essentially all American-made primers totally dried up. So then people started going overseas and getting stuff from Russia and Bosnia and stuff like that. And we refuse to load anything but American-made primers into our premium ammunition lines because primer quality goes down and stuff. So I think when you're getting into reloading, I think it's important to choose a good quality primer because that's the heart of it. I mean, like, it starts right there. So if you're buying junk, overseas primers, you could have the rest of your loading, could be perfect, but primers have got to be good for good, consistent ignition and burning.
Yep. Yeah. So I would say, pretty much any of the brands, you can buy. I would just stay away from, like Pete was saying, like the Wolf and the Tula stuff. I know I went to a gun show and I bought like pretty much everything I needed to get started reloading. And the only thing that they had there was Wolf primers. I think I loaded 10 of them and only 5 of them worked.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think I still have that box and it was like 10 years ago. So I would, any of the other brands are good to go, but I'd stay away from those two or any of the kind of Burden Prime type stuff too. So
yeah, exactly. They just have different, manufacturing processes, and they're not as stringent as, the ones in the U.S. So there are some good overseas, primers out there, but they still, even the best overseas primers out there are still not even close to the quality of American made.
So let's get in. Let's talk about the powder now. I think that would be another crucial element. Talk about the powder. What am I looking for in powder?
So for what's nice about powder is, like I was saying before, like if, during kind of this low quantity time and, you go and you're looking for powder and say, okay, I want Winchester 231. It's like, okay, well, everybody's out of stock. Okay, well, I know that HP 38 is the same. Maybe I'll search for HP 38. Okay, it's all out of stock. Okay. So, but luckily with powder, you have a lot more flexibility. So you can go online and, that Hodgson website that we were talking about earlier, it's like you can kind of search for all these different loads that you can work with different powders. Obviously, there are ones that I always recommend for newer for newer reloaders. Like Winchester 231 is a really great kind of overall pistol powder. You can use it for 9, 40, 45. I shoot mostly tight group just because it's a really great load. It's a really great powder for competitive shooting. And it works really well for all sorts of different calibers as well. CFE pistol is good. So there's a few good ones out there that I recommend, but what's nice about powder is really you can just kind of use a lot of what's available out there and just try to find a recipe for it online and just kind of go from there. With any powder, you start off with the starting load and then kind of work your way up. And
we'll get into that as far as, when we get into making them up. But right now, I just want to talk the components.
That's nice about powder, though. It's really, it's pretty open. You can choose pretty much any brand or whatever you want that you can find a recipe for.
Okay. So, is it the same powder for a pistol, 9mm versus a 357 versus a 50 cal bullet? Is it same powder?
Yeah. When you get to the top and the bottom of the ranges, you start getting more specific powders that are made specifically for like the Magnum cartridges and stuff. But in general, if you're loading 9, 40, 45, they can all pretty much use the same powder.
And can that go in a rifle?
No. So there are pistol powders and rifle powders and shotgun powders that are different. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Again, Brian said it really well. I mean, but yeah, you can really go down the rabbit hole because each powder manufacturer out there makes, they all make comparable burn rate powders. So, if you're really unsure on if you're just getting into reloading and you're really unsure about what to start using, maybe start doing some research. Say you're, loading 9mm, start doing some research to see what powder burn rates work best with what bullet selection that you're going with. And then you'll have, a huge list of powders that'll work, in different brands. And in what Brian said is the cool thing is if you can't find one, there's 100 other ones that you could find, hopefully that are in the same burn rate.
So, and then bullets, I guess that brings us to a bullet. What am I looking for in a bullet? I guess that's going to definitely be caliber specific and
it is, yeah.
Different grains, different weights.
Yeah. So for me, I've been loading with Barry's bullets for I don't know, forever. It seems like 7 or 8 years probably now. They're a plated lead bullet, so they're on the cheaper side. So I think, on like Midway's website, they're anywhere from 8 to 11 or 12 cents around now, which is pretty reasonable. You can spend up to 20, 25 cents around on pistol if you want to. If you want, I usually load a really hot 9mm load for the Prairie Dog trip that I'll just keep in my pistol. And it's a Spear Gold Dot, which is a hollow point. And then almost like twice the powder is what I put in my competition load in that as a hunting load. So it's got a much higher velocity. But yeah, that's.
What's your thoughts on the bullets, Pete?
The ones that, Brian said the berries are very famous. They're when he meant cheaper, he meant cheaper as in price, but not quality. A very premium selection of, bullets, for the competitive shooters because they specialize in making, they're like he said, they're a plated lead bullets. So in the middle there's lead and then they use a plating system and their plating system's much, much thicker. When you get down into the cheaper, now I'm talking lower quality plated bullets, what can happen is the rifling can strip the plating off and cause serious accuracy and velocity issues, performance issues. So Barry's does an ultra thick plating process that makes them very famous for it. And then, it depends on what you want. If you're, looking for competition or hunting, there's also a large difference in solid copper bullets and then lead jacketed bullets. And what I mean by lead jacketed bullets, like a traditional lead jacketed bullet, is you have you actually have, pure lead with some kind of a copper jacket either plated onto it or, formed around the lead. And then, so I can take a 9mm 125 grain traditional, lead jacketed bullet, and then I could have a 125 grain solid copper bullet. And the loadings for both those, even though they're the same caliber, same weight, are so much different because there's a hardness difference in length difference in, from copper to lead and stuff. So you have to be really careful when you're, when you're starting to reload and loading these cartridges, because you really need to look at each individual load development for the specific bullet that you're loading. So just because it said the load data that you're looking at says this is good for a 9-125, make sure it's what bullet, and if you're shooting a comparable bullet, if not that one. So research the load data, the reloading data for the exact bullet that you're looking to load. I think that's really important.
So when you're talking about the load data, and you said something about a recipe earlier, there are books out there, or there are websites, probably apps nowadays that will tell you. And I guess when you say load, the amount of powder for that particular metal bullet, what component that bullet's made out of. You're saying that a different powder load would need to be considered for each of those, and there's guides for that out there.
Right. Yeah. So this kind of gives you an illustration of kind of a plated or a jacketed lead bullet, so you can see kind of the copper that surrounds it. So. And then, this one is a fully plated bullet or fully jacketed bullet. So it actually encompasses the lead on the backside. So, but this is a hollow point bullet. And so, I think what Pete said is really good, for new reloaders to pay attention to is, if you look in your reloading book, you're going to see all these abbreviations for like different types of bullets. And you really need to kind of pay attention to that. Usually at the bottom or at the beginning, there's kind of a layout of what all these different acronyms mean.
Good point.
It can get kind of confusing. There's hollow point, or there's soft point, or flat tip, or round nose, or there's like a million different ones. Yeah, so kind of scroll down through there.
So now for our video audience, our listening audience, I've gone to a website. It's called Hodgdon.
It'd be Hodgdon.
Hodgdon, Hodgdon, Hodgdon. And this is kind of that recipe website that you're talking about, right?
Yep.
So I can go here for pistol, and I can put in a 9mm Luger. I can put in the bullet weight. So I did 115, 124, and 147. I can pick a manufacturer. I did the Hodgdon and Winchester. And then you can also pick powder.
Yeah.
And then you can hit that, and then it goes down, and then it gives you, tell me what we're looking at here.
Sure. So 115 grain is the weight of it. So I've got a little scale here. And you can literally weigh the bullet just like you would weigh powder and figure out what grain it is. So 115 grain is literally how much the bullet weighs. And then FMJ stands for full metal jacket. So that is probably the most common 9mm bullet out there right now is 115 grain full metal jacket.
Yeah. And when you buy them, you're buying them in bulk. And if you buy your bullets, then you'll know this box is 115 grain full metal jacket.
Exactly.
Bullet.
Yep.
Or TMJ, total metal jacket. It's essentially a full metal jacket, which most of the plating bullets, like berries and stuff, I'm pretty sure they refer to them as TMJ.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what is this telling me here? So I got my Winchester case. It's telling me the Primer CCI 500 small pistol.
Yep.
And then it tells me my starting load, is 4.9 grains. That's how much powder that I want to put in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so your powder's over there on the left. It's Winchester WSF. And so it's telling you kind of further over to the left there. So, yeah, Winchester is the brand that makes the powder, and then WSF is the type of powder. And then...
What is WSF?
There's 2 different bullet diameters. Most full metal jackets are 355, and then most plated bullets are 356. It's, that doesn't really matter too much. You're not going to really notice a difference between the two, but it's just kind of people get confused by that a lot. It's like, well, it says 355, but I should be using, or mine say 356. There's not enough of a difference there for it to really matter.
We've loaded, plated 9mm bullets all the way up to 358. And the reason why there's a diameter difference is because the way the bullet is manufactured, it's the hardness. So like bullets that are 356, 7 or 8, those bullets may have a softer compound to the plating or the jacket. So they make them a little bit larger so the bullet reacts better in the rifling. So,
okay.
Yeah. And then, over there it says starting load. It's 4.9 grains of powder. So bullet and powder are both measured in grains, which is just a type of measurement. Basically, it's, same as pounds or grams or ounces or whatever. It's just a type of measurement. And so then it gives you what their gun tested at. So right above there it says barrel length is 4 inches. So that's kind of the test barrel that they use to get that velocity. So if you've got a 5-inch barrel or a 6-inch barrel, you'll probably get a little bit more velocity out of it. If you've got a 3 or a 2-inch barrel, you'll probably get a little bit less, but that's kind of just a generic
gives you an idea
velocity for that load. So so you always start at the low end, the 4.9, and then slowly work your way up, every 0.1 or 0.2 grains, and slowly work your way up until I like to do what's called a ladder test, which is really common with rifle, but it applies to pistol as well, where let's say you load 4.9, 5.1, 5.3, and 5.5. And you load up 10 of each one of those, and then you take them to the range and you see what your gun likes the best. And then whatever your gun likes the best, you just kind of run with that, maybe make 100 of them and see how it does. But, you could have 5 M&P pistols that are all the same, they're all 5-inch 2.0s, but one might like 4.9 grain bullets one might like 4.9 and one might like 5.3. So that's another cool thing about reloading is you'll really get to tailor your load to your specific gun, but you won't know what that load is until you kind of, set up that ladder test.
Play around. Play around with it.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I mean, I've had totally full custom built rifles in the same caliber, consecutive serial numbers. They were literally built together, and the loads are totally different.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point. It really, when you're doing reloading, you're able to load for your specific firearm, for that gun, for that serial number, because the next one may be totally different for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now it's giving me this this range 4.9 to 5.7. What if I went over that?
So they are very heavily monitored by their legal team, and so the 5.7 grains is definitely the maximum that you want to load. If you get into like 9 plus P, or some guys will load like 9mm major, you have to have a gun that's specifically built for that. Otherwise, you could rupture a barrel or something like that. So definitely stay below what the maximum states. So,
and what if you go below?
Below can be okay as long as it functions your pistol fine.
Yeah.
So I would say probably that my competition load that I use is probably lower than what the minimum says, but it runs my gun just fine. So you always kind of want to start in the range that they give you, and then kind of go from there. So.
And this website, it does pistol and it does rifle and shotgun. There's shotgun on here too. I know you could reload shotgun. I mean, you can't reload. You can just load, right?
You can actually reload the holes.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
I've never reloaded shotgun. I know there's a guy here at work who's a big turkey hunter, and he loads like 10 rounds of shotgun a year, and he uses this tungsten shot for a very specific turkey load that he shoots that, he can hit a turkey at a much longer distance than normal. So he's the only one I know that reload shotgun. Usually it's not really worth it. The price that it costs to reload shotgun can sometimes be more than what it costs to buy it. So
but again, it's not necessarily cost why people get into this. So
yeah, for sure.
Keith likes everything about the great outdoors. He's a lot like us. Whether we're bow hunting in the backcountry or plinking in the backyard, we want to enjoy each experience to the fullest. Kel-Tec's 22 caliber P17 is Heath's go-to pistol for a good time, on the range, on the trail, and anywhere in between. Weighing in at only 14 ounces with a full magazine, its compact size makes it easy to conceal or tuck away in a small pack, pocket, or space. It comes out of the box ready with a fiber optic front sight, a threaded barrel, a Picatinny rail, and a price point for any budget. With 3 16-round magazines, it's ready for hours of pure unadulterated enjoyment. It's easy, it's affordable, it's accurate, and it's a damn sweet marvel of plinking innovation. The Kel-Tec P17. It's more bang for less buck.
All right, so we talked about the components, a little bit about that calculator there. So just me getting into this, so I know about the components, things I need to get. Now I need tools. I need the presses and the powder thingy measurers and the weights and scales, and talk about all that. What, as a beginner just getting into this, what's the bare minimum that I need to get into this?
Yeah. So go ahead, Pete. You can start if you want.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything.
Good, man.
I guess it depends on your budget, because once again, it's kind of a rabbit hole effect. You kind of got to set a budget, but I come from the school of, the tools that you buy to do the job. I think it's important to buy good quality tools, like your calipers. The caliper is the measuring instrument that measures your overall length, and what you'll see on the thing you were just on, COL.
Got some calipers there, Brian?
Yeah.
Brian's going to hold up some calipers here for us.
I was in the engineering department, so just keep some on my desk here.
Yeah, Brian came from engineering into marketing. Yeah, that's a weird transition.
Yeah. But so basically, like what he's saying is, see if I can get this to show up here. So you're just measuring kind of the overall length of it there, like he's saying. So
yeah, I think a good set of calipers are really important. I supply my employees with calipers because the ones I issue, I feel are top of the line and they're good. Because I've seen some cheaper calipers that you can buy for practically nothing, that
Harbor Freight kind of stuff,
or skip around, and they just don't give accurate readings. And so that's a good start, because buying a powder scale, something to dispense powder or weigh powder in, there's so many different things, but you need to be able to accurately measure your ammunition that you're building. So it's super important. Brands out there, there's Starrett, that's good. We use Brown & Sharp Teslas for Defiant munitions. They're maybe not the most expensive, but they're expensive. And they're the higher end ones. There's Brown & Sharp Teslas, and then, like I said, we have some Starretts and stuff like that have been in the game for a long time, and they're good quality. And then you have digital readouts and you have manual readouts. I'm kind of old fashioned. I like manual readouts.
Oh man, Can't stand it.
Oh, you like the digital?
I'm all digital, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm the only one at the shop. All my employees, because I give them the choice. I say, you want a digital readout or do you want a manual? And everybody, I'm the only one. I'm just old school like that. It's just the way I am. So, yeah.
So are these the scales that I got pulled out? Is this what you're talking about? To weigh?
Yep. Yeah.
And for these scales, you're weighing the powder.
Yeah.
Or can you weigh anything, or is it just specifically for powder?
Yeah, you can weigh anything. Usually most of them do, grams or ounces, and then you want to make sure that you buy one that measures in grains. So that's the biggest thing there. So it's its own segment.
Are these the ones you use, Pete, right here? Those with the numbers on them? Is that the non-digital?
Yeah, those are. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that still do reloading, and that's all they have is a beam scale. It's pretty old school. But the scales we use are, if you scroll back up, scroll back up there, right there. Oh, nope, a little bit more. So the one right here, it's got red lettering across it.
One to the left.
One to the left of yours.
Yeah.
This one?
Those are the scales we use at Defiant. They're really high end, and they're an absolute fantastic scale because they have extra decibels to read out. Oh, you got I
was trying to pull it up. That's not the same one. Is that the same one?
Oh, yeah, those are on the high end. Yeah, it is. It just doesn't have the wind thing on it. If you click on the middle picture, you can see it. So that's what we use.
So that's a $980 scale. I'm not paying that.
They're not cheap.
But for the stuff that he's doing, he's
got to be.
Right. It's totally not necessary to get in if you're getting into reloading for the first time. That's obviously I do this for a living.
So Frankfurt,
it's a bit different.
Frankfurt Arsenal is part of the AOB, right?
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, so I've got one here.
Let me stop sharing and get back to you.
Yeah. So this is one of our it's kind of the upper level of one that we have. But I think, kind of even the lower level one is like $30. It does have, little weights that you can make sure that it's calibrated correctly, which is really important. So, but like Pete said, I mean, it is something that it makes a difference. Especially if you're loading towards the top end of that, and let's say you put 5.7 grains of powder and it says, okay, that's what you're loading, but your scale is off and it's actually putting 6.1 or 6.2 in there. You can get into trouble real quick. So it's good to, maybe have one or two, or maybe have
definitely calibrate your scale.
Go up and kind of double check your work there.
Yeah. We calibrate all of our scales. When we get into the shop in the morning, we turn them on, let them sit for 30 minutes, let them warm up a little bit, calibrate them. And then even sometimes we'll calibrate them halfway through the day. Making sure your scale's calibrated is important because, like what Brian said, it would suck if you were loading up 1,000 rounds of ammo and then you find out after that they're a grain heavy when you couldn't afford to make them a grain heavy. So
right.
I try to find scales that give the extra decibel readouts because, like, if you're doing a load that is a strict 5.7, like, hey, that's a hot load, I can't go any hotter, or you're doing a match, that extra decibel, because if you drop 5.7 on some scales, it could be actually 5.7 and a half. I get pretty anal about it, so that might not matter to a lot of people, but I like to know exactly what the charge is. Those Frankfurt Arsenal scales, I have buddies that have them, and they love them. They work really great, and they're very consistent, and a lot of people like them.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's always good to have a second set of reference point, but yeah, I mean, that's I've been reloading for a long time, and this is the one that I use. I've been happy with it. And then, I also know that, the PRS guys that I shoot with, those guys get real crazy with.
Oh, they get nuts, man.
Yeah. So it's that same kind of level too, right? If you're like just loading a generic pistol round that is kind of middle of the road or kind of on the lower end of the powder charge, then, you can probably get away with a $30 scale. If you're a PRS shooter and you want something that can dispense the powder for you automatically, like this guy, then then you step up a little bit. So
I'm on, and that's another thing. Where can people go and get these? And I'm sure there's a million different websites. But brand wise, I mean, you can probably go to Brownells and get this stuff, and Optics Planet, and all those guys that carry everybody. But talk about some of the brands like Frankfurt Arsenal, and this obviously is a good brand. But we're talking more reasonable here, $239 for this scale here.
Yeah, this one is a little bit different. It's designed more for rifle loading. So basically, you fill up that hopper, and then you type in, okay, I want 27.5 grains. You press enter, and it puts it it weighs it for you basically. So yeah. A lot of the stuff that I do for pistol, I'm doing everything on the press. Because I've got a progressive press that does everything actually on the press. If you're loading with a single stage like with one of the Frankfurt Arsenal presses or something, like this guy, then you've got to load all the powder and stuff off the press, and then put the bullet on top of it. So whereas a progressive, it's doing all of those functions kind of all at one time.
Hold that up a little higher there. So. Yeah. This is called a what?
This is called the Impress. Okay. It's just a little single stage. So basically what that means is it's just got a spot for one die here. So, yep. So it's only doing one function at a time. So, but we can get into the press stuff because it gets pretty crazy. But
okay, would that be the next logical thing? So we've done our powder, we've done our what else do we do? See. What other tool? The calipers. So calipers, the weight.
Yep.
Now where do we go?
Yeah.
To the press?
We can go to the press if you want. It's a good segue.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, like what Pete was saying, you can spend $150 on a press, or you can spend $5,000 on a press. We've got a Mark 7 in our office that is auto driven, and you basically press a button, and all you're doing is filling powder, filling primer tubes, putting more bullets in it, putting more cases in it, and it's running on its own.
I'm just getting into this. I'm brand new. I don't want to get overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah.
Let's keep everything that level right now, and then we can talk about upgrades later.
Yeah. So Frankfurt Arsenal has a couple single stage presses. One's $150, called the F1. It's coming out here in a few months. And then we also have the M press, which I was just showing you, and that one's $300. So if you're loading rifle or you're not really loading a lot of pistol, single stages is okay. I started on a Lee Classic turret, which I don't know the retail of those off the top of my head, but that's what I started on. And I think I outgrew that thing in like 2 months. I think I bought my Dill in like 2 months after buying that Classic turret press. But so there's an press there. It's back up at the top.
This one?
Yep, right there. That one, yep.
Yeah, I think it's important that, for somebody that's just getting into reloading, I think they need to be like really honest with themselves and decide, say, hey, all right, how many different cartridges am I going to load for? And how many rounds, maybe a year or a month, that, am I going to actually load, like for reals? Because there's a lot of people that get into reloading that spend tens of thousands of dollars and getting all these crazy presses and stuff. And it's like they load, 500 rounds a year or something like that. It's like, you really don't need that.
You also got to decide like how much your time is worth too. You know what I mean? Like, I've got 2 young kids. I'm busy all the time. I need to like sit, sit at my bench and crank out 500 rounds in an hour, and then I'm done, and that'll last me for a little while. If you're, retired and you got nothing better to do than sit in your basement and just reload ammo all day, then, you can get a single stage press and do that. So you got to decide what your time is worth too, as well as your budget.
But that's the thing too, is you got to start. I don't know that you have to start, but you got to start somewhere. And you got to get your pace and your flow to know if, something bigger, better is what you need.
Right. Yeah. I would definitely not recommend people start off with a progressive press if they've never reloaded before, just because, like I said, on the X10, there's literally 10 different things going on at one time. So, even for a seasoned reloader, it's a lot to kind of pay attention to. You got literally 10 pieces of brass on this thing moving every time you pull the handle. So.
And we talked about this with the AK Builders episode that we did. There are courses that people offer to go and learn how to make these kits. Are there reloading classes and courses that you can go to and take?
Actually, so
that would be like the number one first step, right?
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I was at Gunsight Academy in Arizona, and
aren't we going there soon?
Yeah, we taught 10 YouTube and Instagram influencers how to reload their own ammo. So people that are gun people, like yourself, but had never reloaded before. And so we brought all the equipment from Frankfurt Arsenal up to Gunsight, and they reloaded their own ammo. They loaded 100 rounds of 6mm Creedmoor. We got rifles donated by Seekins Precision. And so they loaded their own ammo, and then they went out and shot their own ammo out to a mile. And so that was really, really cool for those guys to do. So we actually donated all the equipment that we had for the class to Gunsight so that they can teach that class in the future. But yeah, there's lots of classes out there that you can take. So, and then obviously, YouTube and all that is a really good resource. If you ask around,
it depends, I guess, on where you go.
Your local range or some of your friends, you probably know somebody that reloads. For me, there was, I'm going to date myself here, but YouTube wasn't really a thing when I started, and I hate reading books, so I didn't want to read through the 400 page Hornady manual or whatever, and so I kind of asked around, and I knew one guy that reloaded, and he helped me kind of get the basics of it down, and then I just did a ton of research and was able to do it that way. But if you can find a mentor, like if you know somebody who reloads, I 100% guarantee you that they would love to sit down and just kind of walk you through the steps of reloading, because that's just, how we are.
Yeah, I agree. Research into this game is good, and make sure you're researching good information. And I always tell all my customers, because I have customers that call me all the time for questions. If there's anybody here watching and that you're just getting into reloading, or you have a reloading question, call me. My number is easy to find. I would rather you call me to get set on the right path or to get the right answer than to get it wrong, because
Pete Pye, Defiant Munitions, 555. You go to his website. Go to their website, defiantmunitions.com, and you can get in touch with him there, or you can go to their social medias. Are you good about answering your messages on social medias?
Yeah, we're pretty snappy about it.
Okay.
Within a few minutes.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. Just like I said at the beginning of the show, do not try to contact me through the social medias. Do email talkinglead@gmail.com with things like questions and things like that. But
yeah, like Pete said, there's a lot of bad info out there too. So you don't want to get everything from one source, or if you go to your buddy and he's like, oh yeah, I load this crazy load, and then you check online and you're like, well, what he said was way over what the maximum is supposed to be. So that's why I would say I would never get like reloading recipes from online unless it's from like the Hodgson website. It's something you can use to kind of double check your work and say, okay, there's a bunch of other people that are kind of loading in this same general area. But definitely start, with the reloading manual. Get your info from there. Get it off the Hodgson website. Get it from the padding manufacturer. Because there's just so much kind of weird stuff out there on the internet. So
there's another place that that's really good. It's called loaddata.com. And I think there's a little fee involved, but it is literally a massive website where you can get just about any kind of load development off of. Have you heard of it, Ryan?
What do you think it's called? I will look it up.
Yeah.
Loaddata.com. It's a very small fee. It's like $20 a year or something like that, I think. Don't quote me on that. But it has piles and piles of load data. It's all legitimate, verified data. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. That looks good.
Cool. Is this it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it. And it's just kind of like a one-stop shop for everything. They have everybody's load development in there from all the top companies. It's all compressed into one website. And I mean, I don't have any
search over 308,002 loads. 308,000.
Yeah, that's where we talked about getting into the weeds, So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they have a beginner's guide in there and everything. I mean, it's pretty cool. I actually use it myself. If there's something that, I need to cross reference, I'm a member of this. I just jump on there and check it out. Just to make sure I'm in the ballpark. So it's even stuff that, somebody like myself that owns an ammunition company, I still use it for reference. It's a good reference tool.
For amazing $34.95 per year, you will receive the largest online reloading manual in the world. Over 300,000 searchable loads, new loads added daily, metallic cartridge, shot shell data, exclusive articles, free advanced hand loading DVD, over $300 worth of reloading manuals at your fingertips. That's
cool.
It's the price has increased since I for a while, but it's $35. I think it's well spent
for a year. Yeah.
If you buy one of those reloading manuals, they're right at $35 anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, and that only gives you data for one brand usually. So I'd say it's good money well spent. Yeah.
For the Lyman's book, it's $37.49 at Optics Planet. There's a Nosler.
If you're a book guy, you can buy all the different reloading books from all the different brands and stuff. I'm just not. So I like using the Hodgkin website, and this loaddata.com website looks great too.
Yeah, I use the Hodgkin website as well. It's really good.
But for you preppers out there, when the grid goes down, you want those books. You want those hard.
Want the books?
Yeah, the books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Get those books, definitely. All right, very good. That's good information. So we kind of skipped. We talked a little bit about the press. Anything else about the presses that we need to talk about?
I mean, the presses are hard. We kind of talked about it for a second, but you, like what Pete said, you really want to really be honest with yourself. Obviously people always want to get into it as cheap as possible. But, I bought that Lee Classic turret and I outgrew it in like 2 months. And then I bought my Dillon 650, and I've been using that Dillon 650 for 10 years. You know what I mean? So,
well worth the investment on that one.
Yeah, right. So, and like I said,
what's that saying with
is really important too. So
pay a little more, buy it once. It's kind of, what's that saying?
Buy once, car once. Yeah. So, I mean, I can load 100 rounds in 15 minutes on that 650. It would probably take me over an hour to load 100 rounds on that Lee Classic turret press.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, probably more.
We actually use not a lot. We use some Dillon products at Defiant 2, some progressive machines, one called an RL 1100.
Yep.
And we can load about 1,000 rounds an hour on it.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're just bragging. So, press. Now, what else do I need? I mean, we're talking like necessity, the bare minimum that I need to get into to reloading. So, a caliper, a weight, a press. What else do I need?
Yeah. So this is one of our other presses, but a press is useless without dies. So
dies. And what are dies?
Yep.
What is a die?
The dies, a lot of times you can, if like you go on Dylan's website or something like that, you can order dies and stuff with it. Like Frankfurt Arsenal, they don't sell any dies, so you can't buy dies from our website. But like Lee makes really good dies.
What is a die?
This is a Dylan die. So basically, the die is what is either what takes the primer out, it's what expands the case, it's what puts the bullet on it. It's it does each of the individual functions that you need to do. So okay. I guess we can walk through that real quick too, because if you don't know kind of what the process is, then you don't know what you need. So let's just start with this, I guess. So if you got a piece of brass, right, that you shot, you picked up off the range. The first thing you got to do is remove the old primer from it. Okay, so that's what this guy does. The case goes up inside there.
That's what the die does.
The decapping pin is what pushes out the old primer, and then it ends up in some little catch can or going down a tube or something. So all your old primers end up in there, and
can you reuse your primers? Are those?
I guess if you get into prepping or something, you might be able to figure something out, but most people just throw them away.
So that's just junk. Okay, primers are junk after you pop them out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Pete might know some secrets on those.
No, I've never heard of somebody reloading primers before. That'd be new to me.
Use them for artwork.
Right. Yeah.
You're into jewelry making.
So you take out the old primer, right, and then you got to put a new one in it. So that's the first step.
How do I put a new one in it?
So a lot of them will do it on the press. Frankfurt Arsenal has a little hand primer that you can fill it up and fill it up by hand, or you can put them in there by hand. I do everything on the press.
Show me.
So
can you show me?
The way I prefer to do it, but it just kind of depends.
Can you show
me? Let's see.
With the press you've got there.
So most of these are the two that I have here are meant for hand priming. So
okay.
It's not until you get into the progressive ones that you can prime on the press.
Do you have a hand primer on your bench there?
Not. So,
you could go to if he doesn't have one. You could go to Primal Rights makes a pretty cool high-end primer. And I mean, Dylan, I believe, makes one.
Does Frankfurt?
Frankfurt
they make one too.
Let me go to their website because that's where I'm at. Yeah. What would that be under?
It should be under reloading tools.
Right.
Let me look here. I'm pulling
primer
up the website
pocket.
Too. So reloading tools, priming and depriming tools, and then it's that Perfect Seat hand primer.
Perfect. There it is. Let me share my screen here for our listeners. Our watchers, not our listeners. Listeners, go watch the video.
Right. Yeah.
Here it is. So the Perfect Seat hand primer. Boom.
Yep.
Got it. So you put your primer in there, put your case.
Yeah. So primers come in packs of 100, and so you dump your 100 pack into that little blue tray there.
Yeah.
And then you set a case in the top, squeeze the handle, and it has a little ram that pushes the primer into the case.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That little thing right there.
You got it. Yep.
There you go. That's perfect.
Very cool. Okay, so you need that tool.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So now you're going through the process. So we put the primer in. Now what's next?
Yep. So once you get the primer in there, you have to expand the case out a little bit to fit a new bullet inside. So if I take this one, for example, this one has not been sized, and so this bullet actually won't fit in there because it's still basically the same size as what the bullet is. What you need to do is just kind of open up the brass a little bit so that the bullet can actually slide in there like that. So.
And how do you do that? What tool does that?
So usually it's the same die that your powder goes through. So while it's dumping the powder, it puts a little ball inside of the case, and it kind of expands it out a little bit. So usually they're done at the same time. So the powder and expanding the case are usually done with the same die.
So there's a die.
And you buy the die as a set. So you buy them like, all 3 or all 4 dies all together. You don't have to buy them individually. So you just buy them as a set from Lee or Dylan or whoever, RCS or whoever. So. Okay.
Yeah. So now we've done that part.
Yeah. So you're expanding the case, and then you're also putting powder into it. And so, there's powder measures that, like you saw that rifle one that we had on Frankfurt Arsenal's site, where you just type in whatever you want and it puts in the right amount of powder, and it dumps it into, something like this. Mm-hmm. And then you have a little funnel that sits on top of it for a rifle cartridge, and then you're just kind of pouring it in there.
Yeah. But if you're doing it by hand, you've got your scale, you're measuring out your powder, and you get the right amount, and then you pour it in the case.
Yep.
So now you got your powder in your case.
Now you have powder in the case, yep. So then you put it back into the press, and you usually either set your bullet on top manually like that, or sometimes you can do it on the press, depending on the type of press that you have. And then that just kind of sets the bullet on there. And then you have a bullet seating die, which will actually compress the bullet and actually push it down in there far enough so that you get the right total length of your case. And so those are adjustable. So they've got a little screw on the top. You kind of screw it down, and it will make it shorter. You unscrew it, and it'll seat a little bit deeper. And the overall length of the case is really going to depend on your gun. It's in that recipe that we looked up earlier. It's kind of a generic thing.
So you can get that measurement, should be in that recipe book.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what you use your calipers for, to measure, what the overall length is. And then if it's too tall, you can put it back in there and push it a little bit further down. But you want to kind of get it set at a certain level. They make case gauges. So it's just like a little gauge you drop the bullet into, the loaded cartridge you drop it into, and it will kind of tell you if it's the right length and everything's, it's basically a chamber, but it's not in a barrel. What I recommend for new reloaders is just pull the barrel out of the gun that you're using to reload for, and just use that, and you just drop it in there and see if it drops in there and it fits. For rifle, a lot of times the chamber is long enough, but it won't fit in like an AR magazine, and so you can use the magazine as kind of a length gauge as well. If it's too long to fit in the magazine, obviously you're not going to be able to use it. So, but if you just kind of follow the recipe, that's a really good kind of starting point to go after. So, so that's the bullet seating die that tells you how long your bullet needs to be. And then you have a crimping die, which for pistol, basically you're just, your case looked like this to set the bullet in it. What the crimp die is basically just making it straight again for most cases. If you're loading like 357 or some other kind of Magnum cartridge, sometimes you want the brass to actually push into a little ring on the bullet. A lot of rifles are that way too, but it's just kind of going to depend on the caliber that you load. So those are,
and these dies, these dies that you're talking about, do they go in the press?
Yes. Yeah, they go in the press.
So they're interchangeable dies. So you take one out, put the next one in to do the next function.
Right. And if you have a progressive press, they're all on the head at once. And
rotate it.
And it's rotating around. Yeah. So either the head stays stationary and the bottom part moves, or sometimes the top moves or whatever. But all your dies are up there at once. That's why you're doing 5 or 8 or 10 functions all at one time. It's because all your dies are up there already. You don't have to unscrew them and swap them out. So
and like what Brian was saying with the crimp, there's typically 2 types of crimp: a tapered crimp, where your crimp die, when you go down with the press and the cartridge goes up in the die, you either taper crimp, so the crimp is tapered, so it's tapered from loose to tight, or there's a roll crimp where the case, if the die actually rolls the case into the bullet candle or the bullet, and you can put too much crimp on bullet, where it could be so much where the die actually crushes the case.
Was there a setting so you don't over crimp?
No, I mean, what we do is typically measure. How I do it is I usually set the crimp to my eyeball, where I think it feels about right. And then I pull a bullet and I actually take a measurement of the crimp line, because typically, there'll be a mark around the bullet for the crimp.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Is that how you do it, Brian? Or do you
Yeah. So like with those berries plated bullets that I use, since they're plated, you don't want to crimp it too much because it will deform the bullet because they're so soft.
Or tear the plating. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so,
and then we've got our bullet.
Yeah, right. And so, you're basically, what I do is I crimp it, and then I use our Frankfurt Arsenal bullet puller, and I'll just pull one, just the little hammer basically, and it basically hammers out, and so the bullet like slowly works its way out. And so I'll pull it out, and I'll just run my fingernail over it. And it's like if I see a little line, but I don't feel an actual indentation of the bullet, then I know that I've got the right crimp, because it's really not a crimp. You're just taking the bell out of the case at that point. So like I said, it's really going to depend on what caliber you're loading. So if you need,
it is very caliber specific, and not only caliber specific, but bullet.
Yeah.
Bullets if they has a cantilever around the bullet, or there's tons. So tons of different things.
Yeah, cantilever is just kind of a groove that's kind of built into the bullet, into the casting, and so your brass actually is supposed to sit into that groove and kind of lock it in. A lot of military cartridges will do that. For like machine guns and stuff like that can get some bullet setback where the bullet gets kind of pushed back into the case, and that will kind of prevent that from happening. But for most calibers and stuff.
So would you say we pretty much covered the basics at this point?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So we've got
this.
A loaded cartridge now. So
let's go to listener questions now, and that may get us into some other things. And if you think of anything while we go through this, we can hit that too. So, and we kind of did this: guns, oil, and dirt. I need to know how, just how. Love the show. So I think we told you how a little bit there, as best we can without actually going to a course. But now that I think about it, if there are classes out there, if your local gun store has one, or you can go to a place like Gun Sight, which I don't maybe cost prohibitive to some people, but there's probably a lot of local things that you can check into. Take a class, definitely, or like you said, got a buddy that does it.
Yep.
Go watch them. A buddy that's
a great idea.
Yeah, that you trust.
Right.
It's not a crazy dude. Sick Nartini, does anyone know how to make steel cased ammo in the U.S.? I don't know.
My understanding is that steel case does not reload very well. It's usually kind of a once fire.
I've never heard of anybody reloading it. I think it's anybody making it, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, because of the ban on the Russian ammo. I got you. I see where he's coming from now.
Yeah. There's rumors of American-made companies trying to tool up to make steel case. The information that I have, I'm not sure if I can repeat it, so I'm just gonna not. But there are some American companies that are looking about tooling up for steel case to replace what we lost in the Russian ban.
That's cool. I hadn't heard that, so that's interesting.
Tandem Dooley, if you could only have one piece of reloading equipment, what is it, and why is it a Dillon 550?
Yeah.
Guess he answered his own question.
And this is a big personal thing, but I actually don't like the 550. So you have to turn the dice or the station manually, which for me is just kind of an added step. I think the 650 is worth the money to do it on its own. But
the 650 and the new 750.
Yeah, the 750 now. Yeah.
Get up to date, Dooley. Get up to date. You're 100. You're 200 series behind, son.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. he needs to step up to the X10 that Frankfurt Arsenal is coming out with.
There you go.
It's
yeah.
the same price as the 750, but it's got a bunch more stations and a bunch more features. So.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yep, check it out. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll let you go over the features of that here in just a little bit. Don't let me forget.
Yeah.
Bonafide breed. No, I'm not reading that. That's a stupid question. He's got some better ones here, but that was just being a meathead. What's one piece of advice that you can give someone who is wanting to get into reloading?
Don't blow your face off.
Yeah.
Don't smoke.
No,
don't smoke while you're reloading.
Yeah, it's a joke, but it's not. I'd say, like we've said this many times, but make sure that you really do your research from a trusted source. Get multiple sources. Get your reloading data from a reliable source. Don't just grab some guy's reloading recipe off the internet, or your buddy tells you that he loads 7 grains of some powder, but he actually meant 5, and he just kind of told you wrong. So, that'd be the biggest piece of advice that I have, would be make sure you're safe. And the way to make sure you're safe is to verify your loading data. So,
in all seriousness, that's exactly what I was going to say as well. So I agree with that 100%.
Glautru, Glautreu. I don't know how you'd say that. What are the top 3 calibers recommended for beginners to try reloading?
So I would say 9mm. Any of the basic pistol calibers, 9, 40, 45 are good. 223 is relatively easy. But honestly, it just depends on what you shoot. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point in reloading 223 if you don't have one.
Yeah, they're all the same. I mean, the steps are the same. The caliber's different, but you're going to do loading 357 mag and me loading 9mm. It's all the same. It's just a different caliber. So,
yeah. So I think you get some of the bigger cost effectiveness comes into, kind of the more unique calibers. If you've got like a 338 Lapua or something that's $5 a round for you to buy from the factory, and
303 British,
$1.50 a round or something, then that would be one that you probably want to do, because it's going to save you a ton of money.
Yeah.
So saving 10 or 20 cents every 9mm load doesn't matter if you're only shooting 100 rounds a month. But if you're shooting 1,000 rounds a month, it really starts to add up. So.
Yep.
Bailey Mueller 80. What are your preferred reference materials when trying to reload a caliber loading that you haven't tried before?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that. So that loaddata.com that Pete brought up is awesome. I had never seen that before, so that's really cool. Obviously, there's a ton of books out there that you can buy, and then the Hodgdon one, something.
Hodgdon, yeah, cool. That would be a good starting point right there.
Yep.
And then as you get more advanced, then that pay site that Pete's talking about.
Yeah,
exactly.
Let's see. This one's specifically for Pete. This is from Armis Bravis. Pete, what powder are you using for your 7.62 by 3.9? Is it proprietary or an off-the-shelf? Any plans for 5.45 by 3.9? Hornady Black is the only brass stuff in this caliber.
Yeah, I think we have had, every time I've been on the podcast with you, they've asked about 5.45.
Yeah, I really want you to do 5.45.
So, first of all of our powders are all proprietary. And to be honest with you, I could tell you what it is, and it's just a number. It's just a stock number. We don't call it tight group or anything like that. It's a number. And most of our powders are specifically designed to my specifications for the cartridge. So at Defiant, we don't just use powder. Well, we do. We do use some powders that you might be able to get, but 95% of the powders we use are powders that I specifically designed out for our cartridges, detailed out. So we do things a little bit different than a lot of other ammunition companies, but
So the answer to your question is it's proprietary.
Yeah, proprietary.
Okay.
To the 545, I have brass cases on order with a company, but I'm hoping that I'll have some by the end of the year. So the answer to that question is yes, Defiant will do 545 by 39 eventually. I just don't have an ETA on it.
Gotcha. And this kind of falls in line with the next question. Kitzmiller 3-gun. He's been on the show before. I've heard from a few sources that components are getting caught up. When will we see more primers and powder available to the general public? Good question. I don't think anybody knows that.
So I agreed with what he said there in the beginning, but things were starting to loosen up. We were starting to see a higher flow of primers, higher numbers at one, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's back to shit again.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think orders kind of slowed up, and then manufacturing was starting to catch up a little bit, because I started seeing, like I said, larger number of primers, because we have millions of primers on back order. Some of those back orders go almost 2 years back, and I started to see some of the stuff coming in. And I was like, oh, thank God, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're not getting anything again. So primers, it's I don't know. I don't even know how to reply to that.
Yeah, I think you just did. I don't know. That's a great great answer. If you don't know, you don't know.
We're in the same boat as everyone else, so
yeah.
Stuff. Luckily, if you've been reloading for a long time, you can kind of stockpile when things are good, like I haven't bought primers in probably 2 or 3 years, so I'm in a little bit different boat than Pete, where I'm just loading enough for myself to kind of get by. So when stuff's really good and stuff's really easy and stuff's really cheap, that's when you buy it, and then hopefully it holds you over when things aren't so good. So
yeah, exactly what you said. People really need to take note of when things are readily available. That is the time to buy.
Yeah.
Everybody always does it ass backwards, and it's like, listen, then when things happen, you could sit back, kick your feet up, and be like, yeah, I'm one of the smart guys.
Yep. Yeah. And I've sold some to friends and stuff, like, my buddies or somebody gets into reloading and they're like, hey man, I just need 1,000 primers and it's going to last me a year. I'll sell them 1,000 primers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to help out somebody, but
so stock up. When you got it, stock up. When it's available, stock up. Arms of a K, and there's certain, maybe we should talk about that too, is storage tips and tricks, like for powder. I mean, you want to store your powder. There's a certain way to do that so that it's gonna last.
Not really, unless you're in some extreme climates or something. But you just keep the powder in the factory sealed container that it comes in. Don't ever mix powders. Don't ever put powder in another jar that's got a different load data on it or something.
Don't store it on the floor. You just need to store it elevated.
So, I mean,
moisture.
For me, just having enough to load for the next 3 or 4 years. I do it in a climate controlled area because I can, and that's where I store it. But I don't have any like fireproof containers or anything like that. I just keep it in the factory sealed container.
Yeah, so, and that's recommended, I think. Keep it in the factory container. Keep it off the floor. As much moisture as you can keep it away from. Keep it away from moisture.
We
probably sunlight. You don't want to keep it in sunlight.
Right. Yeah, because we're in the mass manufacturing market. We're controlled differently, so we have to store our powder and stuff a lot differently than a home reloader would. So
this question comes from Arms of Acadia. He says, for experienced reloaders, what is something now that you wish you knew when you began reloading?
Yeah, I'd say we already gave you a really good one, and that's buying it when it's cheap and available, and not trying to scrounge up and paying $3 per primer, when everybody else is trying to buy primers at the same time. I'd say that's a big one for sure. Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do our fact to fight the myth. Now it's time for the talking lead. We forgot to do that. So, what is one of the biggest myths about reloading that you'd like to debunk, Brian? And then we'll ask Pete.
Yeah, I think there's probably two. One is that you won't save money, reloading. And like I said before, you definitely can save money. You will just probably end up spending that saved money on more ammo or more components or, more gun stuff. But you did save that money and you have extra money to do it. And so that's a big one, I think. That was the whole reason why I got started into reloading, and it's definitely paid off, in the past 10 years. The other myth, I think, or something that, people are scared of is that, reloading can be extremely dangerous. You are dealing with lead, you're dealing with, explosive powders, but it's not like black powder where, if you look at it the wrong way, it can become explosive. These are very, very stable powders. Everything's very safe. Even with two little kids, I don't mind at all, reloading in the house. I've got a dedicated, safe room that has all the guns and the reloading equipment in. But I'm not worried about lead vapors going up into the, into the air conditioning system or anything like that. So it's very safe if you just follow, the really simple instructions and you follow the load data. It can be very safe. I've never had a single issue reloading, and I'd say I've loaded over 100,000 pistol rounds in the past 10 years, and I've never had something that has been unsafe. But I also come from a engineering kind of design background where I'm very, research and focused. I'm very anal about what I'm doing. I stay focused while I'm reloading. And so I think there's a big myth that says it's unsafe to reload your own ammo. And I feel like that's definitely not true as long as you take the proper precautions, and it's pretty simple to do that. So
I like that. Pete, you got anything?
Yeah, that was good. I'm thinking, loading cartridges at maximum pressure is risky. Like, people are like, so, like my background, with Corbon and my father and stuff, like everybody would always be like, oh, that's loaded hot ammo. Like, that's too hot for my gun, stuff like that. Like, that's not true. There's, we follow SAMI specifications. So SAMI is the governor of, what the, trying to think how to put it here. They control like the maximums and
they set the standards basically.
Yeah, the standards.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Loading your loads to maximum pressure to max loads, is fine for the gun. Those guns are built to, to handle that stuff. And, there are some, firearms out there that will state not recommended for, plus P loadings and stuff like that. But you need to follow your manufacturer's, guidelines, but, there's nothing wrong with hot loads. And, there's, rumors about saying, oh, well, these hot loads don't shoot as good. Or the other way, only hot loads will shoot good. It's, that's all myth.
Yeah.
Just need to find what your particular gun likes. So.
Yeah. I know the Prairie Dog loads that I was talking about earlier is definitely at the top end of that spectrum, because you're really pushing for as much velocity as you can get out of your gun. And the only way to do that is to be at the maximum. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's another question specifically for Pete here. This is from Richard NLMB. This is, what would you recommend I do with spent cases from Defiant 7.62 by 3.9 rounds? The Lapua cases look nice, but I've never been into reloading. Send them back to you.
Yeah. Do the SKUNKWORKS thing.
Or, we do use a lot of Lapua cases in some of our loadings, and that stuff, especially Lapua, is worth some money. You could jump on somewhere and sell them for, look up how much it costs to replace that case on a retail market. And, you could probably easily get 50% of that money for it. So if it costs you $1, there you go. There's 20 unicorn horns right there in one sitting. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people that'll buy your once fired cases for sure.
I'm holding up some nice little Pezzes right here.
Yeah.
Pete's
so
Pezzes.
What you could do is, buy Defiant munitions, shoot it up at the range, pick up the spent casings, resell it, and then buy more Defiant munitions. So that's exactly what you're supposed to do with it.
Or do, like Brian said, your, what was it called? That new thing?
SKUNKWORKS thing.
SKUNKWORKS.
Yeah. You can talk to us about redoing some stuff for you at SKUNKWORKS, or, look into reloading it yourself.
Yep.
So
I would keep it, we shoot a lot of 4D Smith & Wesson for our red dot testing and stuff, just because it's hard on the red dots, and so that's what we use. And I don't load 40, but I always keep it, and then there's always somebody out there willing to trade me 9mm or something else that I'm willing to use. So I definitely go use it for something, or some other guy who will use it for something will come pick it up. It's probably me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So
let's see. We'll do one more, and then we'll award our prizes here. Where did it go? We talked about that one. How about the grunge junkie? And I think you answered him, Brian, but this will be for everybody maybe who didn't see or hear the question. I have a Lee turret press and want to up my speed with a progressive press. Which press would you recommend? I've been looking at the new Lee 6-stage progressive press coming out this summer, but looking at the best deal without going to Dillon price range.
Yeah. I said this, on my answer to him, but the classic turret is a really great starting kind of a progressive press, but I have not had good experience with the other kind of upper level of the Lee progressives, like the 1000 or the one that he's talking about. I haven't had a good experience with those personally. For me, what I would recommend is maybe trying to find, like, since they came out with the new 750 Dillon, I bet there's going to be a lot of 650s out there that are maybe used, or I actually bought mine used 10 years ago, and with Dillon's warranty, like, it doesn't matter if you're the original purchaser or not. You can just call them up and they'll give you a replacement part. So that's a really huge benefit. But yeah, those, I know that, the Frankfurt Arsenal X10 is a pretty big jump up in price. It retails for $1,200. So it's about the same price as a new Dillon. And so it's got a lot of features and stuff, but for somebody who's kind of budget minded, it's probably not what they want to go for. But you got to remember, when you buy this thing, you're not using it for a year or two. Most likely, if you buy the right one, you can hand it down to your kids. So I'd say the money's well spent to kind of save up a little bit more and just buy something that's going to last you a while. So
would this be a good time to talk about the X10 progressive press with case feeder?
Yeah, we can.
Frankfurt.
So Mike is a real good friend of mine. He's the engineer that designed the X10, and I always give him a hard time if I could design an engineer to make the progressive press, it would have been Mike. He's one of the top 3-gun shooters in the country. He loads a ton of ammo, and he's one of the best engineers that I've ever met. And so this has been his baby for the past few years. He's put a lot of thought, and we put a lot of engineering resources into it. And so I think that on the first sentence, it's designed by reloaders for reloaders, and that sentence couldn't be more accurate. And so it's a really, really good value. I think if you built you have to build a Dillon 750 with a case feeder, it comes out right at about that same price, but you get a ton more features with the X10. So you get 10 stations instead of 5, I think, on the 750, and maybe 6 now. And so that just allows you a lot more flexibility in what you're doing, especially for a rifle. And then, they're going to come out with a bullet feeder as well. That's going to be really reasonable. The shell plates and the caliber changes are cheaper than the Dillon. So there's a lot of really cool benefits. My favorite thing, which is, it kind of comes out of this thing where it's reloaders by reloaders, is it's got integrated LEDs into the tool head. And so it lights up the whole tool head. You see everything. So when I started reloading, I had this like lamp that I'd have to kind of like pull over and try to shine some light down in there, because you want to check each case and make sure it's got powder in it. And I like to do a visual check on that. And so this thing just lights up the whole tray, which is really cool. But then another thing too, when I was loading the Prairie Dog ammo, I was actually listening to music, which I don't normally do. And I couldn't hear the primer alarm go off, but the light actually flashes whenever the primers are out. And so it gave me a visual indication too that the primers are out. So that's just, it's something that is really simple. It doesn't hardly take any effort on the manufacturer at all. But it's just something that, if you load enough rounds on a progressive press, it's just like one of those things that just makes sense. So,
you guys can go.
Well, that press sounds awesome. Because, we have a Dillon RL 1100 in. Yeah, it's got alarms and stuff like that. But what I did was I got a bicycle mirror, and I drilled a hole through where the press is, and do it. So I angled it down so I could see inside the cases, each individual. Right. So got like triple the checks. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really important.
And you go to frankfurtarsenal.com, lead heads under the reloading tools, and then reloading presses, and it's down at the bottom. It says coming soon. I don't guess you can pre-order these. You just got to wait till they're.
Yeah, just put your email in there, and you'll get an email whenever it's ready to buy. So you can also, there's a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff that's out there. We've worked a lot with Ultimate Reloader, Gavin. He's the largest kind of reloading channel on YouTube. And if you really want to get into the weeds on reloading, he's a good guy to start watching. But we've worked directly with him as well to get some outside feedback on it. So.
Very cool.
Pretty awesome.
All right, let's give some stuff away now. Brian, you're going to give away, what was it? You got some magnets from Lockdown?
Yeah, so...
let me stop sharing my screen.
Earlier, but I was the engineer for Lockdown for the past 5 years. And so I actually am the one that designed this little magnet. So this one is meant for rifles and shotguns. It holds up to 75 pounds. And so basically, it's kind of tough for ARs because your handguard is usually blocking the barrel, and most handguards aren't magnetic. But I've been able to attach it to the bolt before, where the dust cover is. That's a pretty decent spot. It would work super well for a little shockwave up there. And obviously, you can actually hang, 2 or 3 pistols on it as well. So,
yeah. Yep. And they're great for your vehicle too. You could mount these underneath your steering wheel or somewhere strategically in your vehicle as well.
Yeah.
So see there, this is my 223. Holds that really well. That's a smaller one. And of course the larger one's going to definitely hold that. But I've tested it with my ARs and my AKs, and it holds them just fine.
Yep.
But I plan on installing this on when I do the walls. I've got some of the lockdown walls back here. I'm going to be putting, so my background you see here is going to go away once I get my walls up, like Brian's got behind him.
Yeah.
So he's got the walls there. So I'll have a nice display back there once I get everything installed.
Cool. Looking forward to seeing it. Yeah.
So go to, are you guys on Instagram right now? On my account, go to those questions. Or if you remember a question, what do you think was one of your favorite questions that we got?
I liked the kind of Mythbuster thing. That was
me.
Yeah,
that was me.
Cool.
I can't. I've already got.
That was all you, huh?
That was me.
That was good, man. It's like you've been doing this for a while.
You know, I might have done that before.
I'm looking now.
How about the guy that you answered his question directly on IG there, and we finished up with it. Who was that? The Grunge Junkie.
Grunge Junkie. Yep.
Yeah, he had the lead turret press.
Yeah, one upgrade to a progressive. Yeah, that's a good one. You know, as you start, you know, it's just like with anything, you know, you start with something that's cheap, it kind of gets you by, and then, you know, you slowly want to upgrade your equipment. You know, it's not like you went out and bought a $5,000 custom 2011 for your first pistol. You know, you kind of slowly work up to nicer and nicer things. And so you just got to remember that just like a gun, you know, when you buy quality equipment and stuff, you know, it's something that can last you for a long time. So, yeah. I think that's great question, because you are eventually going to upgrade. You know, people always think, oh, I'm going to buy this and I'll use it forever. Well, you know, you'll come to the fact that you're like, oh, well, I either need another press for something else, or, you know, I want to upgrade and do things faster. So you're always kind of changing and evolving, just like any hobby. So.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. So where was it at? The Grunge Junkie. Email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. Tell me what you won, what episode, and of course send your info, and I'll forward it on to Brian, and he'll get you hooked up with a set of these awesome magnets here.
For sure,
definitely. Yep. All right, so Pete, you're gonna be giving away some ammo. Tell our listeners what you're gonna be rewarding our participants with today.
Yeah, so we started doing training ammo, range ammo. In 223 and 9mm. We're going to do in 223. We sell it in a 240 round ammo can and a 510 round ammo can. So you're not having the strip boxes and trays and stuff when you go. You can just grab this little handy dandy plastic.
But why 240, Pete? Why 240 rounds?
Well, we thought we were being pretty creative when we did 240 rounds and a 510 round. Because if you divide that by 30, most 223, 5.56 guns are 30 round mags. And so yeah, you can, you know, load up an even amount of. You don't
have any strags.
Yeah. So
that's OCD people. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So yeah, we're going to give away a 240 round ammo can in 223.
As long as it's legal in your state.
That's right.
And are you on the grams? You want to go through those and pick your favorite
That's
question?
what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it could be one that we didn't read yet either. You may see one on there that.
That's what I was looking for.
There's a couple. Car Racer, I didn't ask his. That was pretty funny. How do you make rifle brass processing not suck?
Yeah.
Good products.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
Wear some comfortable boxers.
Yeah, I seen that. That was funny.
You liked that, didn't you?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Just pick one. It doesn't
AKM
matter.
Archer, best digital scales, preferably with the trickle feature out there. My old Hornady one is on the Fritz. You guys got any suggestions for digital?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, the best is a lot. There's one called Auto Trickler out there. If they watched earlier on those scales that I pointed out, they're $1,000 for that scale. There's a company called Auto Trickler out there that actually makes a progressive, you know, powder dropper as well, or the Frankfurt Arsenal one that we were looking at. Both, you know, but you're talking two automatic powder drop scales that are thousands of dollars apart from each other.
Right.
So when you say the best, you're talking, you know, $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah, money's no object for him.
Well, then Auto Trickler it is.
You got any suggestions, Brian?
Yeah, I'd say the IntelliDropper from Frankfurt Arsenal is the one that I've used the most, and I've always had really good luck with it. So
yeah, for the money you can't beat that. I mean, it's not going to bring the bank. And, for what most people do for reloading, that's going to service you just fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, depends on your budget, like you said. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Did you pick somebody yet?
I didn't. I was hoping you would just do it.
I was just killing time. You want to give it to one of those 3-gunners?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's get them some real good practice ammo for them.
You bet, man.
How about Kitzmiller? I've
There
heard from a few sources that components are getting caught up. When will we see more primers? We had a good conversation on that. I think that's a good question.
Yeah, we did. Let's do that one. The 62 grain ammo can that he's going to get, they're 62 grain. It's actually ballistically matched with my TCX 62. If you wanted to buy a defensive round to match that, my 62 grain TCX would be a great choice.
Very good.
So,
Very good. All right, there we go. Congratulations to our winners. Email me. Let me know what you won, your address, and we'll get you hooked up, definitely.
Yeah, or if you don't, I'll keep the ammo and shoot it.
Or send it to me.
Yeah.
So here's what I've going forward, and I may not have made this announcement yet, but any unclaimed prizes we donate to Sheepdog Impact Assistance. It's a great veterans organization that
Awesome.
gets our military and law enforcement men and women off the couch, keeps them active and engaged.
Yo, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Which it's rare that we get unclaimed
Yeah, I would say.
prizes, but great show. Did you think we covered everything? I mean, the basics definitely. I think.
Yeah, we got the basics.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do a more advanced show down the road once I start getting into it a little.
Yeah, man.
Little bit here,
Yeah.
but greatly appreciate you guys being on, taking the time, Brian. It was great meeting you the other day, and I appreciate you on the short notice agreeing to do this. And you,
man.
Wealth of knowledge, man, definitely.
Yeah.
When we get the walls up, you and I, and I've mentioned this on the show, but it keeps getting rescheduled. But you and I are going to Gunsight here in a couple months.
Yep.
And we're going to do some 3-gun shooting. We're going to do pistol, rifle, and shotgun, right?
Yep. Yeah, so we're going to tour the vault room at Gunsight that's all decked out with the lockdown walls. And then, we'll look at some other products and stuff that we're coming out with. And then you're going to be one of 25 other influencers that we've got out there for that event. So it's going to be a ton of content. It's going to be really cool.
I haven't asked you who else is going yet. We'll talk about that off air.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about that. And once I get my walls up, you guys will start seeing that in the background there. And looking forward to that. Again, give everybody where they can get in touch with you. They can find you Lockdown.
Lockdown.com. You can check out our website there. You've got my personal Instagram there in that comment section on this post. So feel free to DM me. I'll be happy to answer any questions about reloading or lockdown or competition shooting or whatever. I'm pretty active on there. And so, yeah, that's really the best way.
Can people get in touch with you on that? Because that was one of the things, DWNZRO.
Yep. Yeah. So I can't be tagged on there unless I'm following you.
Okay.
And I can change that. I used to get a bunch of spam on that account.
Sure. But people can message you.
But yeah, they can message me and I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then of course, Lockdown Secure is your website is.
Yeah. So it's lockdown.com. And then all the social and stuff is Lockdown Secured. So. And
any news on, I think we talked to Ronell about a vault door. Is that something you guys were working on?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we teased it a little bit.
If you think about where the world economy is right now, all the things that are made of steel and electronics, like cars, are having a hard time. So, we're
kind of got put on the back burner.
Unfortunately, we can't get into a bidding war with Ford and GM on steel and electronics prices. So, yeah, it's coming.
Gotcha. I had a listener ask me about that the other day.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer
There's
for him.
There's people looking forward to it.
Definitely. Oh, man. I know. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the walls. The walls are going. You know, we're launching the walls in November, so those are good to go.
Yeah, I think once I get mine up and everything, we're going to have you on. And, of course, after we do the gun site and learn about the new products, we're going to have Brian and the gang back on, and we'll talk about all their new products too.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Me too.
Pete, Defiant Munitions.
Yep, DefiantMunitions.com, at Defiant Munitions on all the social media stuff. You want to email me at info@DefiantMunitions.com. So pretty easy to get a hold of. If you want to call and talk to me, my number's on my website.
There you go. Very good. Very good. And then, of course, that discount code you guys can use is Leadhead, all caps. You get 10% off Defiant Munitions. And they got cool hats and shirts and stuff, too.
Yeah, we just got a whole restock of shirts, hats, tank tops, women's tank tops.
Got tankers? Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Tank tops are coming back. I'll send you one. I didn't know you.
I got to get back in the gym.
Yeah, no
right.
Yeah, now that I got the hip all ready to go, I'm ready to get back in shape.
Yeah.
Get back to my fighting weight.
Right.
Heck yeah. And then, of course, our other sponsors, go and show Kel-Tec some love. KelTecWeapons.com. Use the code LEADHEAD. You get 15% off there. Still got the episode with Chad. We're going to talk about their new I think it's P15 is what it is. Their new 9mm. That's coming up. And but go to their website, use that code, get discount on anything but their firearms. Mission First Tactical, all the cool stuff at Mission First Tactical. They even have cool hats and shirts at Mission First Tactical too. But they've got the magazines, they've got the AR accessories. The butt stocks are my favorite. I love their minimalist butt stocks. I took all my guns away. I normally have like all my guns back here too, Brian, but
yeah,
because I'm cleaning my spot to put up the wall, right. I moved everything, so I don't have all my
Mission
stuff.
First Tactical is actually sponsoring all the holsters and stuff for the 3-gun event. So.
I know.
Yep. Yeah.
Use the code LEADHEAD to get 20% off. They're like Brian just said, they've got great holsters too, awesome holsters, and they can print on the holsters too. So you can,
we got custom mags and everything. It's gonna be sweet.
Sweet, I can't wait. Yep. It's gonna be awesome. And then Seal One, I'm wearing their shirt today. Go to seal1.com. We had Dwight on a couple episodes ago. We talked about their fundraiser that they did with Beyond the Teams, a nonprofit organization that kind of does outdoor activities and bikes. And they did a canoe thing. They canoed from the Keys to Miami in one of those outrigger canoes. Raising money for a couple of different organizations. But Seal One, go check them out, seal1.com. And for all your gun cleaning needs, CLP, the Seal One Plus has got you covered, especially you AK guys that are out there. It helps prevent that corrosion, definitely. Code LEADHEAD, 25% off at Seal One. And then for our classic logo Talking Lead t-shirts, patches, you go to 1776 United, use the code Talking Lead, and you get 20% off. And that's any of their products there, not just our logoed items. That's our classic logo there, so that'll be the logo that's on the shirt. And then our Leadhead Brigade, which is this logo, we've got shirts and patches with that logo on there that you can get at 1776. And then for our AK people, you go to Factory 47 for that logo t-shirts, hoodies, and the mugs. You see the mug here I've got. That's an awesome
it is.
Mug.
Super.
It's got all the AK Factory logos on the back. And our shirts have that on the back also. Shirts and hoodies.
That's cool, man.
So you can go to Factory 47 with a K, FAKTORY 47.com, Leadhead, 10% off. Yeah, I think I covered everybody there. So until the next episode, Leadheads, if you've got questions for me, you got suggestions for topics that you want us to talk about, you got guests you want us to have on the show, talkingled@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me. And don't forget, you still got some time to enter our Century Arms BFT 47 giveaway. We were giving away an AK-47. It's through our AK corner. As things are scheduled now, we're going to be giving that away in July, the July episode of the AK corner. And I told you what to do. You got to listen to the show. Make an Instagram post of any of you with any Century Arms firearm. And I've given you all the things that you need to do in other episodes. So go back and listen to those episodes. I'm not going to go through it here again. But if we don't get enough participation, we're not going to give it away.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, how hard is that to do? Like, with the way technology is, like, I would be blowing it up.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll win it.
You can. You can do it. Yeah. Brian, you can enter as well. Anyone is eligible, as long as you're not Century Arms or Talking Lead. You can enter. Anybody can enter. So you 3-gunners that are out there, it just a picture of you or a video of you with a Century Arms firearm. It could be any other fire, anything they've imported. It doesn't have to be an AK. It could be a Canic, even be a Canic. It could be one of their NAC 9s. It could be a what was the one? A Mosin, a Mosin Nagant that they imported. What's the MP5, the AP5s? They call them AP5s. It could be one of those. And it doesn't have to be yours. You can go to a gun store. If they rent one, do pictures, but be safe. Make sure you're being safe, not being an idiot, not doing stupid stuff with your firearms. And you don't have to be in the picture with it, but, whatever. The more creative it is, the better. We've got judges that are going to judge those. Use the hashtag TLBFT47, TLBFT47. That's how I'm tracking these. But as I was telling these guys earlier, I've been, shadow banned, and they won't let me see anything TLBFT47. So make sure you tag me at Talking Lead, because I can find it that way. And then, of course, tag all our sponsors, Defiant and IWI and everybody, Century Arms. But go do that. Do it now, because you're running out of time. That's all I got to say about that. All right. Till next episode, as always, keep your loved ones close.
And fire closer.
There you go.